The tension in Port Charles has been building to an absolute fever pitch. And if you ask me, no one expected that the breaking point would come so quickly or with such devastating force. For weeks, Nina has been struggling with a deep, unsettling feeling every time she looked into the eyes of the man claiming to be Nathan. It is highly likely that her maternal instincts and her intimate knowledge of the brother she loved and grieved so deeply began to paint a picture that simply did not make sense. The way he spoke, the coldness in his gestures, and the subtle inconsistencies in his stories must have started to pile up like a mountain of undeniable evidence. This means that her doubts were no longer just passing anxieties, they were rapidly turning into a solid conviction that something was terribly wrong. What if the man she was trying so hard to welcome back into her life was actually a stranger wearing a dead man's face? The psychological toll of this realization must have been agonizing for Nina, a woman who has already survived so much loss and betrayal, but her determination to uncover the truth would not allow her to back down. When the confrontation finally happens, it is bound to be one of the most intense and heart-stopping scenes we have witnessed in a very long time. Nina, refusing to be gaslighted any longer, decides to corner the man she believed to be her brother and lay out all the pieces of her puzzle. She demands answers, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and fury, as she dissects his lies one by one. Under the relentless pressure of her accusations, the man before her realizes that the game is officially over. But instead of showing fear or begging for mercy, his demeanor undergoes a chilling transformation. The warmth he had been faking evaporates instantly, replaced by a dark, arrogant sneer that belongs to a true monster. He coldly admits the truth. He is Cassius, a ruthless imposter who has been playing a twisted game with everyone in Port Charles. This means that the real Nathan is indeed gone forever, a painful truth that must pierce Nina straight through the heart. But Cassius is not interested in her grief, nor does he have any intention of explaining himself to gain her sympathy. He is a predator who has been backed into a corner, and a cornered predator is always the most dangerous. The truth could be much more complex than a simple case of identity theft, as Cassius reveals that his presence in town is tied to a massive, high-stakes conspiracy. To make matters infinitely worse, he drops a second bombshell that leaves Nina completely paralyzed with horror. He reveals that Liesl is currently being held captive in a secret location. Although the actual abduction was carried out by Cullum, Cassius admits that he has been tasked with keeping a close eye on her, ensuring that the formidable matriarch remains silenced and unable to expose his true identity to the world. The moment the words leave his mouth, Nina is consumed by a desperate need to act. She immediately threatens to expose him, declaring that she will go straight to the police and make sure the entire town knows what kind of monster he really is. But that is exactly what Cassius had already anticipated. He knows that if Nina walks out of that room, his entire operation collapses, his freedom is forfeited, and his plans are ruined. Before Nina can even take a step toward the door or reach for her phone, Cassius strikes. The sheer brutality of his attack is something Nina never could have prepared for. In a matter of seconds, her screams are muffled, her strength is overpowered, and she is ruthlessly forced into the dark, suffocating confines of a car trunk. The terror of that ride must be unimaginable as Nina lies trapped in the darkness, the hum of the engine vibrating through her body as she is driven to an unknown destination. When the trunk finally opens and she is dragged out, she finds herself in a damp, secluded prison that feels entirely disconnected from the rest of the world. But the shocks are far from over. As her eyes adjust to the dim light, Nina is horrified to discover that she is not alone in this nightmare. There, huddled in the shadows, are Liesl and Jocelyn. The three women, representing different generations and different corners of Port Charles, are now united by a shared, terrifying fate. They have all become collateral damage in a desperate bid to keep a dark secret buried. What makes this situation so incredibly tense is the twisted ultimatum that Cassius delivers to his captives. He does not plan to eliminate them immediately, as doing so would draw far too much attention and potentially ruin his long-term goals. Instead, he wants to use their fear as a weapon of control. He demands their absolute silence and cooperation. He makes it clear that their only hope of ever seeing the light of day again is if they agree to play along with his charade. They must promise to keep his true identity as Cassius a secret, and they must never speak a word about the violence, the threats, or the kidnappings they have endured. To ensure compliance, Cassius turns his focus to Liesl, trying to force the older woman to use her influence over her niece. He believes that if Liesl can convince Nina to submit, the entire house of cards will remain standing. This means that the captive women are now locked in a psychological chess match with a madman. Liesl, known for her fierce protectiveness and her sharp mind, must navigate a treacherous path. Should she pretend to cooperate to protect Nina and Jocelyn, or can they find a way to outsmart their captor from within their cell? Meanwhile, the silence in Port Charles is deafening. No one yet realizes that Nina has vanished, and the search for Jocelyn is still shrouded in confusion. Carly is already on a dangerous path of her own, determined to search the grounds of Windermere despite warnings from Valentine. What if Carly is the one who stumbles upon the clue that Jocelyn left behind, that dropped ring on the dusty floor? If Carly manages to piece the clues together, she might find herself walking straight into a trap that she cannot escape. The potential ripple effects of this storyline are massive. If Sonny finds out that his daughter and his former sister-in-law are being held hostage by a Faison associate, his wrath will be absolute. But with Sonny currently distracted by his own battles and his search for Britt and Rocco, the clock is ticking fast. Valentine is also caught in the middle, trying to protect his family while managing his own secrets. Could he be forced to make a deal with the devil to save those he cares about? Or will he stand by Carly as she risks everything to find her daughter? The tension is rising to a breaking point, and the survival of Nina, Liesl, and Jocelyn depends entirely on their ability to stick together and find a weakness in Cassius's armor before it is too late. As the days progress, we have to wonder how long this captivity can last before someone notices the missing pieces of the puzzle. Nina is a prominent figure in town, and her sudden absence is bound to raise red flags, especially for those who know how deeply involved she was in investigating the truth about Nathan. Will it be Valentine, Carly, or perhaps even Sonny, who first realizes that the threads are all leading back to the same dark corner of the estate? The truth is out there, but the cost of uncovering it might be higher than anyone is prepared to pay. We are looking at a high-stakes game of survival, where one wrong move could mean permanent silence for three of the show's most beloved characters.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.